Wind knifed through the dune valleys as human boots pressed into sand scorched glassy by war. No banners, no symbols, just matte black armor caked in desert grime. The column moved with synchronized silence, sensor dampeners whispering through the static. Behind them, wreckage still smoked from a skirmish 5 clicks back. Nothing left of the Empire's forward team but slag. The general didn't look back. She walked with a slight limp and a crimson line trailing from the corner of her helmet. The wound wasn't slowing her. The comms were quiet, not dead. Quiet by command. Tactical silence was protocol, and every soldier obeyed like machines in flesh. Her hand flicked once. The platoon split, forming a perimeter as they reached the final ridge. Below, a basin stretched out, flat, empty, perfect for extraction or ambush. She studied it without words. A dust devil spiraled at the far end, shifting metallic glints hidden beneath sand. Her fingers curled. Sensors scanned for 20 seconds, found nothing. The Empire had grown smarter. She stepped down into the basin first. The explosion was silent. An electromagnetic pulse detonated from beneath the dunes, frying a dozen systems instantly. HUDs went black. 2 soldiers collapsed before their helmets rebooted. In the next moment, shapes rose from the earth. Empire elite, veiled in adaptive camouflage, surrounding the basin like a tightening noose. The general drew her blade. Not ceremonial, not polished, scored with plasma scars and jagged at the edge. She ran at the nearest ambusher, burying it through its armor joint before the others reacted. Her squad opened fire manually, reverting to mechanical sights and analog triggers. The sand turned red, then black, then hissed as plasma bolts stitched across it. Drones dropped from above, sleek and curved, designed for shock deployment. 3 humans were torn apart in mid-turn. Another was dragged screaming beneath the dunes. The general roared, not in voice, but in movement, disarming one of the drones with her bare hands, twisting its limbs until the shell screamed and snapped. She signaled a fallback. Too late. Above, the sky cracked open. A kinetic rod, dropped from orbit, streaked down as a blue-white blur. It hit 20 meters behind her. Instantaneous crater, shock waves slamming bodies against rock. She was thrown forward, arm shattering on impact. Her helmet fractured. Vision blurred. She tried to push up. Her fingers wouldn't obey. Footsteps approached. Empire commander, silver-plated and tall, loomed over her. His voice filtered through the sandstorm. "So this is your legend? Human resolve." He kicked her once, flipping her broken body to its back. "They said you'd never fall. But here you are, bleeding like the rest." She stared at him with one remaining eye, unmoving. "I want your people to know," he said, "we left you here. Alone. Helpless. Their war ends here, in this crater." He turned. His soldiers fell into formation behind him, stepping over human corpses without a glance. Within seconds they were gone. The basin fell still. Blood pooled beneath her ribs. She blinked once, slow and deliberate. The sand began to swallow her body. She didn't reach for a weapon. She reached under her side plate, into a cavity lined with synth flesh. Her fingertips found the shard. Encased in bone, pulsing faintly. She pressed it. Far above the planet, a dormant satellite caught the burst. It wasn't a distress call. It was a key. Quantum resonance authenticated her genetic code. A dormant orbital relay came online, reactivating dormant protocols coded into war state centuries ago. Across the outer system, a net of black objects ignited with silent pulses. Beneath the basin, the sand stirred again. The Empire scouts posted on the ridge reported static. One joked into comms, asking if they'd broken her too badly. Another laughed. The signal died seconds later. His squad mate turned to check, only to find the man missing. Just a rifle, half buried in sand. At the basin's center, the air shimmered. First, the sound, low, like machinery awakening after centuries. Then the vibration. A perfect circular tremor, expanding outward from her body. The dunes shifted as sand began collapsing into a void that had no bottom. Metal fingers pierced upward. Not machines launched from orbit. Machines buried here. Waiting. She didn't move. Not yet. Her eye closed. The sky began to darken, not from clouds, but from absence. Something enormous moved without sound overhead, its edges cloaked in optical nullification. The few remaining Empire observers froze as static filled their gear. Static and a single voice. Signal received. Mobilizing response. The human army did not arrive with fanfare. It rose. A dome split open beneath the sand, disgorging columns of quadruped war constructs, each one marked only by a red bar where a face should be. Their bodies didn't shine. They absorbed light. They moved without sound, guided by networked logic older than the war itself. 40 seconds had passed. The scouts ran. Too late. The first of them was pierced through the chest by a rail dart traveling at Mach 12. His corpse didn't fall. It simply ceased. The second vanished in a bloom of kinetic displacement, armor folding inward like paper. No warning, no declarations. The human systems had no concept of escalation. Only conclusion. Below, the general exhaled once, barely audible. Her arm twitched. One of the machines approached her still form. It paused, scanned, then deployed nanofibers from its chest. The strands wove into her armor, flesh, bone. They did not heal. They converted. Her blood was replaced with conductive filament. Her fractured eye dissolved, replaced by a cold, red lens. She opened her eye again. The machines stopped. She stood. Every unit realigned to her posture. Her fingers flexed once. The network acknowledged command. Her vision overlaid battlefield data, projected across horizon lines. 37 Empire garrisons. 2 high-orbit stations. A fleet segment en route. All targeted. All lit green. She spoke one word. Execute. The machines vanished forward. Not walked. Vanished. Across the desert, Empire camps erupted in crimson silence. Soldiers never saw what killed them. Some fired into shadows. Some begged for command updates. None received replies. One outpost broadcast a warning. It didn't reach orbit. The relay station melted in mid-transmission. The general walked alone through the battlefield. Her blood no longer marked the sand. Her new gait was flawless. Her mouth never moved. The air around her shimmered from magnetic fields alone. The ground beneath her crackled with rerouted power. In space, the orbital stealth platform blinked once. It sent one final confirmation to Earth Command. Asset awakened. Earth did not reply. It didn't need to. The Empire commander, now aboard a high-atmosphere station, reviewed the footage again. He paused on the frame of her rising. Zoomed in. Rewound. Tried to make sense of it. 40 seconds, he said aloud. That's all it took. He issued orders for emergency redeployment. Too late. In the sky above his station, shapes began to flicker in. No propulsion. No heat signature. Just presence. Giant constructs, shaped like nothing in known design languages, ignoring gravity, ignoring physics. One of them turned slowly, revealing the mark etched deep into its plating, 4 red lines crossing into an X. The general raised her hand toward the sky. She did not point. She authorized. The Empire's orbital defense network in Quadrant 7 activated emergency protocols 4 seconds after the human constructs breached visual range. Defense arrays rotated to track target. Targeting locks failed. Signals bounced back null. Missile bays opened. 200 fusion-tipped torpedoes fired into vacuum, streaking toward the unknown vessels. None hit. The constructs didn't maneuver. They didn't evade. The missiles passed through what appeared to be empty space. Projected phantom signatures, false heat blooms, echo-spoofing arrays. The moment the weapons lost lock, the constructs move. Straight through debris, matter, and hull. Where they passed, systems failed. Not just destroyed, unwritten. The station's core AI stuttered, then ceased. Its final alert to Empire Command read, "Hostiles exist outside code parameters." Then it too vanished. The Empire commander stood silent on the observation deck. The ship around him dimmed, as if energy itself withdrew. His second-in-command opened his mouth to report, then convulsed. A microfilament burst from his temple, pulling him backward off the catwalk. The body made no sound as it dropped. No alarms blared. No klaxons. Only silence. Absolute. The commander ran diagnostics through his neural uplink. Results inconclusive. Power remained. Atmosphere stable. Sensors blinded. Hull integrity decaying on the molecular level. The station was being deconstructed, not destroyed but unmade. He accessed the emergency warp corridor, keyed in his personal code. Denied. He turned to see a red light blinking where green used to be. A human symbol pulsed beside it. Not military. Not national. Just 4 slashes crossing a fifth. Primitive. Defiant. Across the system, Empire fleets reoriented. Thousands of ships, weeks away at maximum burn, changed vectors toward the origin point. They initiated acceleration burn before orders confirmed. The fleet would strike in 12 hours. A command override repeated in the minds of every crew. Eliminate the general. Eliminate the construct. Restore galactic order. The general had no need to listen. She already knew. The data bled into her through networks buried beneath the desert and stars. The constructs around her shimmered, then split into formations, each dividing into squads of 3. Each trio burrowed, lifted, vanished, some into the planet's crust, others into low-orbit shells, waiting to intercept. She walked through the remains of the final outpost. Smoke twisted around melted walls. No movement. Her eyes flickered with light, each blink recalibrating field control to match new atmospheric pressure changes. The planet itself groaned under the construct's awakening. The old war code stirred inside her. She did not give orders. She aligned intent. The Empire's first pre-strike drone pod reached the planet's outer stratosphere 20 minutes later. 1,000 observation units fanned outward, transmitting video to every military node. Each feed displayed the same impossible thing. The general, standing at the center of a growing ruin, eyes fixed upward. Each drone began to fail. One by one. Not shot down. Their cores lost track of memory. Operating systems reverted to presentience. Then to inert hardware. Finally to carbon. They fell, not as machines, but as ash. From orbit, the spectacle resembled a god staring down ant. Commanded by desperation, a vanguard of Empire vessels broke off from the main fleet to attempt early engagement. 6 cruisers, 12 gunships, heavy escort. They deployed with full AI combat protocol. Missiles, railguns, flak storms filled upper atmosphere in overlapping killboxes. The general raised her hand. 30 constructs rose from the crust, met the barrage midair. Kinetic energy, plasma, radiation, none mattered. The constructs absorbed velocity, inverted force, returned it. The cruisers were hit by their own fire, redirected and multiplied. Hulls split. Crews screamed as gravity reversed inside their ship. One vessel crashed into the others before its core detonated. A chain reaction consumed the vanguard before the second wave could reach them. The wreckage didn't fall. The constructs caught it midair and used it to form a blockade shell around the general. Metal, bone, flame, all fused into a defensive structure with no visible function but intent. The enemy hesitated. Too long. A breach opened in orbit. Not a wormhole. A tear. Space twisted as if folding backward. From within, the Vindicator emerged. A human war relic thought dismantled. City-sized. Painted black with ceramic veins glowing faint red. No engines. No propulsion trails. It moved by sheer field manipulation. Where it passed, gravity obeyed its own laws. The general lifted her gaze. The Vindicator responded. Her voice came over open channels. No encryption. No code. Just this. You left me in the sand. You shouldn't have. The Empire fleet received the signal. It carried no threat, just a timestamp. 40 seconds. From the tear behind the Vindicator, new forms emerged. Not ships. Not creatures. Construct. Thousands. Tens of thousands. Some small. Some larger than dreadnoughts. All exact. All perfect. Their exteriors featured no weapons. No windows. No markings. Yet each one vibrated with something deeper than energy. Empire command went dark. Entire battle clusters flickered from the map. No explosions. No comms. Just silence. As if every molecule of their existence had been plucked from reality. The general advanced toward the planetary uplink node. Empire fallback troops had entrenched there. Engineers, war minds, last chance biohackers. They fired every round, deployed every defense. Radiation mines. Phase traps. Rift grenades. Nothing held. She didn't run. She walked. Constructs followed. None fired. They touched walls and watched them rot. They stepped through barriers and dissolved them by existing. When one soldier screamed and fired a point-blank blast at her skull, the bolt hit her eye and stopped, then reversed. He evaporated. She reached the core and placed her palm against the uplink pillar. The node tried to resist. She didn't hack it. She became it. Data cascaded in reverse. Every byte the Empire had ever taken from humans, every field log, every DNA registry, every surveillance whisper, all exposed, then deleted, not wiped, removed from the concept of being stored. She stared skyward again. The Vindicator turned its mass toward the incoming fleet. Empire admirals attempted to scatter. Too late. The constructs formed a web in high orbit. Lines of invisible compression crossed space. When the fleet touched them, ships folded like paper, burst like fruit. Not even explosions, just ends. No matter where they turned, the web moved. The Vindicator never fired. It authorized others to finish what was begun. The general stepped onto a platform formed from sand. It lifted her slowly toward the sky. Constructs reformed under her, lifting her past atmosphere without thrust, without sound. In minutes, she stood upon the Vindicator's hull. Its surface rippled to receive her. She walked into the ship's mind. It greeted her not as pilot, not as leader, but as cause. It had waited for her since the last activation. Her DNA, her memory imprint, her war code, carved into its logic like myth. The edge of known space collapsed without fire. Border systems once charted by Empire scholars blinked out on star charts. Not destroyed, disqualified. Planets abandoned generations ago by humans reawakened with pulse code buried beneath bedrock. Artificial gravity wells reversed their polarity and swallowed patrol fleet. Signals sent into those voids returned corrupted, bearing coordinates to stars that no longer existed. The general stood atop the Vindicator's central axis, where gravity was a suggestion. Her frame, still marked with blood dried under alien suns, no longer obeyed normal physiology. Her eyes tracked nothing visible. She watched shifts in quantum current, drift in dark energy density, the churn of time manipulated by her army's presence. Beneath her, 100,000 constructs moved without variance. Each calculated more than the total computational capacity of the Empire's core network. And yet, they followed only her. When the Empire's final bastion system attempted one last interstellar jump to safety, the exit corridor collapsed mid-phase. They emerged in the orbit of an Earth-desert world once considered worthless. They found their path blocked by geometries older than sentience, forged now into weapons of precision beyond physics. Empire's Grand Executor authorized command codes forbidden by Galactic Treaty. Atomic scaled to planetary kill levels, gravity lensing warheads, AI unleashing viral swarms designed to self-propagate through wetware. The constructs did not block the attack. They absorbed it. And once the last wave ended, they reshaped the energy and returned it with purpose. Empire ships imploded. Not from blast, but from moral entropy. Every act of violence ever committed by a given ship, every war crime, every betrayal, every planetary sterilization was recorded, condensed, and rebroadcast against the hull as data weight. Ships collapsed under their own guilt. The last cruiser to fire drifted for 30 seconds before its crew initiated mutual termination. The general didn't intervene. She only watched. At the core of the Vindicator, the ancient weapon known as the Human Archive activated. It was no database. It was memory forged into artificial will. Every human loss, every broken treaty, every planetary purge, encoded into logic that no longer allowed oversight. It began to unfold. The archive did not transmit its data. It became data. The fabric of reality began to rewrite, patch by patch. Language shifted. Empire maps became obsolete. Entire species realized they had no mention in the archive, and thus no permanence. Resistance factions long oppressed by the Empire rose up in synchronized revolt. They did not contact the general. They simply understood. Across moons and megastructures, they began executing their jailers, tearing down cathedrals to false gods. They whispered her name in prayerless oaths, not as savior, but as consequence. In the Empire's capital system, the throne fleet emerged from hypershift only to find a void where their home once stood. The Imperial Palace, built on a living star, had not been destroyed. It had been uninvited from the universe. The star, the planet, the station, all gone as if history had misremembered them. The Emperor, last of his gene-seeded line, issued a final command across encrypted channels. Appeal to her humanity. An envoy vessel launched. White-hulled. Disarmed. Bearing no technology, only an elder. A cloned diplomat from Earth's pre-space centuries, face weathered, voice soft. He approached the Vindicator unarmed, sent his message through raw vocal audio. "Please," he said. "Mercy." The general responded with one word. "No." Not anger. Not vengeance. Just the decision of a being who had transcended the illusions of negotiation. The envoy evaporated. The constructs dispersed across 1,000 vectors. They seeded stars with entropy anchors, inverted fields, scattered logic bombs wrapped in silence. None would detonate unless provoked. Each one carried the last 10 seconds of the general's memory from that day she was left bleeding in the sand. Civilizations who dared monitor the memory were never heard from again. Empires across the spiral arms declared neutrality. Species once allied with the Empire declassified every human record. Statues were torn down. Apologies broadcast across deep void. None were acknowledged. The general no longer answered transmissions. The humans she'd awakened had no leaders. They moved like instinct, deploying where causality demanded. On gas giants, they built inverted citadels. On black hole event horizons, they tethered beacons that sang only to human genetic markers. To anyone else, they emitted nothing but static despair. The general walked the interior of the Vindicator's event chamber, where light warped like liquid glass. She reached toward the center, where the original war seed, the first construct, floated suspended in shielded stillness. She touched it, and for one moment every being in the galaxy with a mind felt it. The moment she had been abandoned. Not as image. As experience. They stood in her armor. Bled in her skin. Gasped as Empire soldiers stepped over her. Watched the sky close. Felt betrayal seed itself so deeply in her DNA that it altered species itself. Then it ended. The construct awoke. It unfurled into something that could not be seen, only perceived. The concept of retribution turned inward. It hovered beside her and waited. Across the galaxy, silence fell. The Empire no longer existed. Not in resistance. Not in exile. Its data trails erased, its citizens integrated or scattered. The core belief, that domination ensured peace, was unmade. And yet she did not celebrate. There was no speech. No monument. The humans returned to silence. They disassembled their weapons. The constructs re-entered slumber. The Vindicator powered down. One by one, humans walked into oblivion. Not death. Voluntary erasure from record. The archive removed their names, their faces, their accomplishments, until only she remained. She stood on a quiet planet once considered irrelevant. The sand where she'd bled long turned to crystal. No monument, no shrine, just that one red stain, untouched by wind or time. She knelt beside it. Her fingers traced the edge. She whispered something only the planet could hear. Then she stood, turned, and walked into the light. The Vindicator vanished. The constructs dissolved. And across the stars, every being who'd once raised a hand against humanity instinctively chose stillness, hoping the war never noticed them again. The galaxy turned. History recorded no victor. Only a correction. The general was never seen again. But some say that when systems collapse, when silence falls before an empire crumbles, when the stars shift just slightly in fear, you can hear footsteps echo across forgotten sand. And they always come closer,